All right, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for your patience. Obviously, we're all dealing with some connection, technical issues, things like that. But of course, we love your patience. We're so happy to have you all here. Have an amazing panel for all of you people tonight. We have some incredible women in the workplace who are here to share their experiences with how they got into their fields, the challenges they faced, how they overcame them, and all kinds of stuff. So we will be asking them a list of questions that we already have. But if anyone in the audience also has questions, please feel free to ask those in the chat, and we'll definitely try to squeeze those in if we have time. So yeah, and of course, if there's any technical difficulties, let us know. We got people in the back trying to sort everything out, and yeah. But I think we'll go ahead and get started. Let's start this thing off with just some introductions of the panelists that we have now. So Pallavi, if you would like to advance the slides a little bit. If you can hear me. Let me maximize the video. Hold on. Okay. Okay, yeah, technical difficulties. We're getting there. There we go. Okay. All right, yes, this is session A. Let's keep going. There we go. I believe Tiffany Gamble is having some connection issues right now, but just some basic blurbs on some of the panelists that we have here today. Let me make sure they don't keep advancing too fast because Pallavi's audio is out. But yeah, keep going. All right. So yeah, Dr. Angel Durr, love it. Let's see, how should we structure this? Because it seems like some people are having issues with it. Okay. Well, yeah, we already have these slides up, but of course, to each of the panelists, I'd love to give all of you an opportunity to maybe give a brief introduction about yourselves. So it seems like Dr. Durr is on the screen, so if you would like to start, please feel free.
So my name is Dr. Angel. Cool right now.
Audio cut out a little bit if you'd like to repeat any of that.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Just give me a second to put my headphones on because I think
there's no problem.
Feedback, and then I'll come back on and introduce.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. While she's figuring that out, I'll just go down the list here. Arnika, if you would like to introduce yourself, please go ahead.
Yes, of course. Thank you everybody for joining, and I really appreciate you for inviting me to speak on this panel. I am Arnika Karthikeyan. I am the manager of the order management team at Fujitsu Network Communications. I got my master's in industrial engineering from A&M 2 years ago, and Fujitsu was my first full-time job out of college.
Thank you so much. And then next we have Ms. Satvinder Kaur. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you everyone for joining, and I'm really honored to be here and sharing our experience with y'all. This is Satvinder, and I work at Very, and it was used to be Verydesk, and Very where we help just not with the electronic desks, but we helping as a workspace innovation company. We help growing organization unlock the potential of their space and their people. And I've been working in technology for last 15 years, and I will looking forward to share more experience with y'all.
Thank you so much. And it looks like Dr. Angel Durr is back, so if you would like to introduce yourself again, we'd love to hear it.
So I hope you can hear me okay now, but my name is Dr. Angel Durr. I am a nonprofit founder. That one wasn't me. I have a nonprofit called Data Ready DFW, and our focus is on data literacy, and our strategic initiatives are focused on education, nonprofits, as well as government entities. So we really kind of focus literacy, not just for people who consider themselves to be data scientists or data analysts, but for the general public to really have an understanding of what data is and how it relates to them as people. So we're really focused on that, and I'm just excited to be here. I've been in tech now for about 15 years, and so I'm really excited to always talk about that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. So we do have a couple other people here who are having some connectivity issues right now, but they're still present. So we're going to go ahead and introduce Ms. Chris Benevich, if we can switch the slide, because we can't physically see. Oh my gosh, hi. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, awesome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'd be delighted. Good afternoon, y'all. It is such an honor to be invited to participate today among so many talented women and non-binary people at UT Dallas. My name is Chris Benevich. I am both a technology program director and also the founder of Austin Digital Coaching, helping already high-performing teams and talent achieve greater joy, balance, and impact through their work. Some of the technology transformations and innovations I've brought to market over the decades include the first single sign-on portal at a national bank, the first knowledge management, content management, and go-to-market platform for a scrappy startup in the public sector, and also an employee engagement platform that I coded, designed, provided the animation and audio for, and also won an award for none other than the old EDS, all purchased by HP later on. So happy to bring both these tracks of technology transformation and coaching as the lens through which I'll be responding today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. We really appreciate you being here. And of course, thank you to all of you for bearing with any of our technical difficulties. This is definitely a journey for all of us, but we really appreciate you being here. And then finally, I believe, can we get Tiffany Gamble on the line? Let's see if we can make this work. Maybe. Tiffany, if you're out there, can you hear me? Give it a second. Okay, possibly not, but hopefully she'll be able to get here soon. Otherwise, we might be able to do something with the chat for her. So Tiffany, if you're out there and you can hear me, I'm sorry about the connection issues, and we got people working to get you on the line as soon as possible. But I think we can go ahead and get started with some of these panel questions. So as far as the order goes, okay. Oh, okay, cool. Tiffany's in the chat. Awesome. Okay, so if you can type your answers into the chat, that would be amazing, because then everyone can still get your answer, even though you can't be on the screen with us. So if that works, definitely let us know if you need any help with anything. But awesome. So, I mean, okay, maybe let's see how we should do order. On my screen, it starts with Arnika, so maybe we can just start with her and then go to Angel Durr, and then to, I believe, Chris Benevich would be with the WeHack UTD screen, and then end with Satvinder Kaur. So does that sound okay? Is there anything else you want to change up about that?
I'm good.
Cool. Then I think that is the process that we can go with. And Tiffany says that her video and audio isn't working. So I think whenever I ask you guys the questions, I will also include it in the chat so that Tiffany can type her answer out, if that sounds good. But yeah, so the first question that we have is, how did you get into tech? And like, how did you kind of gain that experience that led you to your current career? And I think we're starting off with Arnika.
Okay, thank you. So funny story how I got into technology and industrial engineering. I come from a family of engineers, but surprisingly, they wanted me to do something different from engineering. I, however, refused. I said, no, engineering is the way I want to go. Started with an undergrad in telecommunications engineering. 4 years later, realized that I want to do something that combines both business and technology, something that was more people-focused. So I applied for a master's in engineering management, joined the A&M program because I have a great scholarship, joined the engineering and systems management, came back to A&M, again, realized that industrial engineering had a lot of courses that I was very interested in. So finally changed my major. That was my last switch. Really like industrial engineering because it's a combination of people and the systems, and we focus more on the people within the system rather than the system itself. Funny enough, I landed a job in a telecom company, have loved it ever since, started out in project management, and my goal has always been to move up the ladder and take up a managing position. So when I got the opportunity to be the manager of order management team, I took it up, just wanted to try something new.
Definitely. Great answer. Thank you so much. Next we have Dr. Angel Derrick.
So I got started in tech. I'm just so everybody knows, I'm a first generation college student. So nobody in my family really talked about tech growing up. It was kind of just me by like a lot of people. I was a huge gamer at one point. I still am, to be honest, but I don't do it as much because I have a business and other stuff to do like a kid. But I love it still. And I was building websites and just really into computers for the reason of gaming. And from there, I got really invested in databases really, really young at 18, and through working in libraries, oddly enough. I went into kind of SQL, and then just really got heavy into the analytics side, specifically after working as a DBA for a long time, and then just realized that analytics was my really focus. But like you, Arnika, I really like people. I'm not one of those data people that wants to be like hidden behind a computer coding all day. So that's not my life. My life is very much analytic. Working on projects. So more so than ever, I find that the tech has kind of crossed with this project management as well as analytics and automation. And so that's kind of where I am now at this point. But, you know, being like the only Afro-Hispanic woman in the world doing this means that there's just not that many of us. And so I feel like we still have a lot of work to do, but I'm just lucky, I guess, that I found out about this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Next, Chris Benovich. If you can hear me.
While I was exposed to computers, even way back in grade school, back in the 1970s, I never really thought of tech as an industry that I would be entering. And my degree, believe it or not, was in liberal arts, and I was an English major. So I went into the workforce thinking that I was going to be a writer or a journalist or work in advertising, which I did for a short time. But remember, if you do the math, I graduated from college right on the cusp of digitization in the early 90s. And Windows came to market in the mid-90s. So at that time, I was really looking at technology as an enabler for everything that I did, whether it was collaboration, productivity, saving costs. So that was the framework through which I was looking at and using technology. So while my early roles were not in the tech sector per se, I was able to parlay my work into technology, and by the late 90s, had moved over into a startup also in the telecommunications industry. I founded their first help desk and was their AV expert, and then I parlayed that into becoming a front-end engineer at, as I mentioned, EDS.
Great, thank you so much. And then finally, Satvinder.
Yeah, hi, thank you. So my story is a little bit different, and it's pretty interesting how I get into the tech industry. So my background was not in tech at all. I did my undergrad. My graduation is in arts in India. Even I went for college 3 years because I didn't have any guidance, and I didn't have all I was given a path. Okay, this is the college you're gonna go. And it was art. So but always in the back end of my mind, like I have an urge to do something more. So I went there, and then even before I came to US, and I started taking a lot of classes for programming, C++, all the programming classes, and this always interested me more. And then like SQL classes. And when I came to US, and actually I came in the timing when the tech industry was pretty down, and I didn't start my career in tech directly. And that led to me go, and I started working as a lot of different positions. I went to that as a teacher assistant, and I was delivering mail, and a lot of pharmacy technicians, because I didn't ever have a guidance. But while I was doing all those jobs, continuously I was learning in the computer fields, like programming and all stuffs. And then after very long time, when I got the right timing and right opportunity, I got into a job as in testing area, software industry as a testing. And then from there, I went to a more advanced level. Then I become a performance engineer, and then that led me to a software development engineer. And from there, now finally I got into the leadership role, which I'm really glad I got opportunity to do more for others and serve others and share my experience. Like, doesn't matter what, there's no limitations. It's like, as long you have your desire to do something strongly, we get it. So yeah, it was pretty interesting story.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And of course, we also have Tiffany Gamble, who's in the chat. So we're working on dialing her in, but until that happens, Tiffany Gamble, she didn't get a chance to introduce herself. She's the Chief Innovative Officer at the Emerging Ladies Academy and also the founder of Emerging Ladies LLC. So Tiffany Gamble says that she followed her passion to empower Black girls, and that landed her into focusing on tech education. She had an epiphany in January of 2017 to empower Black girls to lead to the organization that she's currently a part of, which is incredible. So of course, thank you so much, Tiffany, working on dialing you in. But I just have to say, like, it's credible to hear just how varied all of your backgrounds are and just how different, you know, like, your inspirations for getting into tech were, but you were still able to like find a career that was really like fulfilling for you. So I think that's really great for a lot of our audience members to hear. But yeah, thank you so much. And we're gonna follow the same order for the next question, which is just with being a woman in the workplace, have you ever faced like any challenges just being a woman, and like how did you deal with that? Whether it was just a biased situation or something like can go deeper than that. I know like salary is sometimes an issue, literally anything you could think of. If you've ever faced a challenge just being a woman in the workplace, how did you deal with it? Go ahead, Annika.
And I first wanted to comment, you know, based on our previous answers, even if you don't have the right background, first thing, yes, you can always get into tech. And, you know, all of you are young. So if you don't know your end goal yet, that's totally okay. Just keep working hard. And I'm sure, you know, just like Tiffany, you're going to have that epiphany moment one day, and you're going to find out what you want to do. So just keep working hard till then. But back to the question, Aditi. So yeah, for sure. Challenges as a woman in the workplace, definitely many. I think one of the key ones that I'd like to touch on is that I've seen, you know, even for myself and women around me, if women get promoted into leadership positions, or if they're invited to, you know, speak at a special event like this, they're always criticized as not being deserving because there's always somebody else that's more technical than them, somebody else that deserves it more, which, you know, that's really offensive. And first thing that I always tell these people is, well, firstly, you don't, you know, technology, just being technical isn't everything you need to get into a management position. There are other skills that are required, which those women may have. And the second thing is, you know, somebody around you is doing well, just try to be supportive. That's all they really need, because they might have some skills that you can learn from them that you don't have. So criticizing them isn't helping you in any way. And I would like to make a point here to all the great women that are part of this panel, that are part of the audience, is that if you're ever part of a conversation where somebody you feel is letting another woman down or criticizing them, just don't indulge in the conversation unless you know the whole story. I think, you know, being women, we have to support other women, and that's the only way that we're going to make it up the ladder at one point too.
Absolutely. That is great advice. Thank you so much. Angel Durr, if you'd like to go ahead.
Oh my God, yeah. That question is low. Really lucky you've never experienced anything as a woman in tech, but I think for the vast majority of us, we definitely experience a lot of just stuff that I feel like our male counterparts don't really have to necessarily experience.
Hi, this is Afrida from WeHab.
Oh, hi,
This is
Afrida.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. I have Tiffany on the phone if when she is her turn to answer the question. So I have her on the phone just to let you know.
Awesome. Thank you. So we'll just definitely add her in. Yeah. Thank you so much, Afrida. Sorry, Angel, go ahead. I know that was in the middle of what you were saying.
No, it's okay. So yeah, I think that one of the biggest things I feel like as just a woman of color, period, is that I think women in general want to see people that look like them in senior leadership. And the advice that I would give to someone like early on in their career is that if you don't see people that look like you in leadership in the roles you're looking into, because when you go look for a role, you're definitely interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. So do your due diligence in making sure you see who the senior leadership kind of makeup and breakup looks like. And if you're not seeing a lot of the same similarities between and so I've walked into positions before and saw, a certain demographic was all they had in leadership. And I immediately knew that that was probably not going to be a good fit for me. And there's definitely those of us, I think, especially early on in our career, that want to be those trailblazers and really drive that. But you also have to balance that with recognizing where an organization is. And some organizations like to operate a certain way, and it's really hard for you as the outsider coming in to kind of squash that. And so that's really a big reason why I started my own business to begin with, was because I really got tired of feeling like I had to always go above and beyond my male counterparts to prove that I knew just as much, especially as a woman of color. But I also have autism, so I have another extra layer of difference to add on to that. So I didn't want to feel like when I knew what I knew, that I was any less than anybody that I worked with. And so I just kind of paved my own way. And I see that a lot in the technical kind of space among women, because they just get frustrated and they want to make a change and they don't really know how to do that where they are. And so they really want to be technical, but maybe they also want to be creative. I was definitely creative too. And I was never really balanced in that with my work that I was doing before. And now I am. Good about what we're doing, and I'm a mom now, so that's another level of complexity that I don't think is really well understood in the workplace. From a corporate standpoint, there's definitely this expectation that if you're not doing what your male counterparts are doing, you're not as good or as valuable as they are. But we're balancing that with parenthood and all these other things that a lot of our male counterparts aren't experiencing to the same amount. And so there's a just talk about this, but actually really support it with actual effort that's tangible that we can all see.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know that resonates with a lot of people, especially what you said about wanting to see people like you in positions of leadership. Definitely. Yeah, thank you so much. Chris, are you still with us?
Absolutely.
Great.
And
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh yeah, just being a woman in the workplace, in tech, or whatever it is you're doing. Sometimes you face challenges that your male counterparts don't have to face. So have you ever faced a challenge like that, and how did you deal with it?
That's a great question, and I want to preface my response by calling out you all, the organizers and the participants of this hackathon. You are already cutting your own path to leadership as women and non-binary students. So I just want to give you a kudos and a shout out for really setting the stage of our next generation. Yes, I have encountered challenges based on my gender and very obvious things, meeting the checklist for promotion and being denied and having someone else, a man, received the promotion. How do I deal with it? It really depends on the culture. It depends on the company. It depends on, where I was at in my career. But here's a few things that I've done. Number one, say thank you. Because when someone tells you no, now you know they're not your ally. They're not your sponsor. They're not your mentor. And now you don't have to expend your valuable time, talent, and contributions aligning yourself with that person. You can then cut your own tasks. So frequently throughout my career, if I'm at a ceiling, I said, great working with you. Moving on, started my own company. And I've done that several times throughout my career. And I'm sure there are folks on the phone participating in the hackathon that have already started your own startups or working on apps or building something in robotics as evidence today. So these are things that I just want to call out that I already see you doing. And then finally, I would say, and I think we might touch on this later, so I'll expound later, but look for the people that are going to support you. And no matter how isolated you may feel in whether it's in a startup that's not your own or at a big international enterprise organization, there's somebody who's going to be experiencing what you are. And it's just a matter of networking your way to your advocate who can sponsor you and lift you out and put you on a platform where you can shine and express your best self and your best talents in your profession.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That is great advice. Thank you. So Vinder, you're up next. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a great question, but as like already other panelists also covered it, yes, that is all known issues there, but actually, so there's one more thing like I noticed in the women in the workplace, if we have all the big meeting there and all the meeting is a male dominant, there's several males in there. As a woman, always you feel like you're not being heard, and whenever your turn, you're cutting off, someone's trying to cut you off. So there is a challenge, but I think it's more our responsibility how to learn about it, how we can overcome that. So that's more important. I feel like as a woman, we need to spend more time on ourselves to learn those things. Because when I spent a lot of time in a leadership training, I was amazed to learn, how the men and women's brains work differently. So knowing those facts and learning those strategy, okay, if someone's trying to cut you off, there's a strategy there. Okay, always try to remind, that's what I'm trying to say. And always don't just leave without being heard. And when I just simply start trying those techniques, those works. And just believe yourself, more confidence you have in yourself, these things will be a less and less issues there. So I think once we do spend more time to learn about ourselves, our strengths, there are challenges, but you always learn a different way to approach that. So yes, there are some challenges for a promotion, those there, but as the earliest we talked about, you all have to be creative about it. Like right now, I already just launched my own mastermind in the marketplace, how to be unstoppable with definite clarity. So, but once you do all those things, you feel more good about yourself, and then naturally you don't have to prove everyone see you that way. So yes, we have to be creative and be more confident and just believe in yourself and dare to be a different. And I think it's confidence is the key there. Just challenges would be there, but you have to learn that way. Yes, but that's the other thing, like as a woman, why we have to always do something more to that. And that's it's unfortunately, but I think it's not unfortunate, but as long we continues to learn more about ourselves, it will be less and less. So
Definitely. Thank you. Tiffany, can you hear me? I wonder how this dial-in is working.
I can.
Awesome. Hi. It's so good to hear from you. Great. So yeah, I know you already typed your answer in the chat, but if you would like to say it again, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree with everyone on the panel. I've had my challenges in the workplace as a woman, and mainly because I've had more education than my counterparts, and that posed a problem even with my superiors. So I've had it hard as a Black woman in the workplace, and not being turned down for different roles, leadership positions. I was so frustrated. I started my own company as well, like most of us here. I got tired of seeking validation, from other people, companies. I know my worth. So I started my company. One thing that I learned, though, you have to have strong and effective communication skills. You have to find your voice and be unwavering about your leadership decisions. I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I know how to lead a team, I know how to manage, and sticking to that and not being unwavering about that. That is like the key. Being a boss, to be quite honest with you, having that mentality, and as I have grown this organization, I've grown as a leader to know that I can do this, that I am confident, that I am capable. I can inspire. I have the skills, I have the tools to do this, and I didn't need a company or a person to tell me that. I had to know that within. So this has been great for me as a leader to grow.
Absolutely.
Said they was a first generation of college student, so was I. I don't have anyone. I don't have a role model. I am building this from scratch, with dirt and determination, to be quite honest with you, to give to my community. So this is that empowerment. You have to empower yourself, even when no one else sees the vision or sees your skills or your education. You have to know that you have it. So that's all I have.
That was really inspiring. Thank you so much. I definitely feel inspired by that. So our next question kind of builds off of the answers that y'all just gave. And it is just in tech, like imposter syndrome is a huge issue, like no matter who you are. But sometimes as women, it's even more so of an issue. So if you've ever dealt with imposter syndrome, like do you have any techniques for combating it? How did you deal with it? And let's change it up this time. Let's go ahead and start with Tiffany and go backwards. So Tiffany, if you'd like to go ahead.
Sure. So I didn't have no clue about imposter syndrome. I had to actually look it up. Never heard of it. Really, first of all, I had to stop putting high expectations on myself, thinking that I had to compare myself to other people. First of all, I am not in the tech. I didn't come from a tech space starting this organization. So automatically people assumed that I knew everything tech, right? I'm like, no, I do not. I'm from a social service background. I'm an expert in that. But I knew that tech education was key, and this is why I started the organization. So I had to stop putting those high expectations on myself. I had to walk in my own truth and my own journey about who I am, how I got here, and that we're all learning technology, even the experts. It's always evolving. So no one is ever this big expert at anything. We're all learning and evolving. I don't have to be an expert. It's okay not to know a certain topic or a certain arena. I can be honest with myself and everyone around me, and that has freed me up from the imposter syndrome. I'm very transparent when I enter into tech arenas about my skill set and always looking to improve. And with that, I enrolled in school. I just started to become a full stack web developer because of my interest, and I can be quite honest. When I first started SheCode, I didn't know anything about coding. I found facilitators to facilitate the program for me, and now I know how to code. So I don't have to be anybody that I'm not. And that has been the most freeing experience for me, because I came out going into this tech industry, not knowing anything, going to tech meetings, going to networking events, and people are talking over my head. And once I started being honest about what I wanted, what I was doing, what my vision was, then people started helping me. So it's all about being authentic and being open to learn, and that none of us are experts at anything, you know. So that's how I overcame it.
All right, thank you. That was a great answer. Satvinder, what is your input on that?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. Yeah, so imposter syndrome, you know, even I got to know really late about it when I think 3 years ago. It's an interesting story behind it. Like with my mentor, I was discussing my some challenges. I say, you know, whenever because I don't have the title, but I'm trying to lead my team. And whenever I do that, I just feel like why they should believe me, you know, they're more qualified than me or something like that. And she gave a name to that. She said, oh, okay, you need to read this article, Imposter Syndrome. And since then, it was an eye-opening information. And when you got to know about it, and then after recently, I've been investing a lot in myself, and I've been to a lot of personal development workshops. And so it doesn't matter where you at, you will be feeling imposter syndrome day to day. Even the day comes when I will be feeling, but one of my mentor, she told me the techniques about it, and I loved it. She say, be on that role, whatever you're doing, and wear that hat that time, and put that hat completely on, and just don't think about it. Act like you are that title, you are that role, what you're doing it, and do it. And that really helped. And also the imposter syndrome always with whenever you start feeling a little low about, and just start writing your strengths and your accomplishment, what you've done. And that will take you back to so confidence. When you feel good about yourself, you have more confidence. When you have confidence, then you defeat imposter syndrome. So that's kind of goes side by side. So yes, now I have a lot of tools. So whenever I feel now I learn it's normal to feel that way. And whenever I feel that, I just focus more on my strength, my accomplishment. I write it down, and really that recap just give me the way to start up the other day with the more energy. And yes, so I would say whenever you feel it, keep remembering your strengths and accomplishment, and that helps.
Great, thank you. Chris, I hope you can hear me. What are your thoughts on imposter syndrome? How do you deal with it?
This is Chris here. Were you calling on me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Chris?
Yes.
Awesome. I can repeat the question if you need.
Thanks for the question. Just wanted to make sure that I was being called on next.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor, have I ever experienced imposter syndrome? Absolutely not. I have an inexorable confidence in myself and my abilities, not out of arrogance, but because I have a long track record of success throughout my life and my career. So I rely on evidence and numbers. So that's my first advice for anyone that experiences imposter syndrome, is to rely and lean on your track record of success, your numbers, your metrics, what you've built, what you've done, what you've achieved, especially in the face of challenges. So if you have not experienced imposter syndrome, build those up within yourself as a resilience for when you do encounter it in the marketplace. I'd also like to point out that I think imposter syndrome is not something that women suffer from. It is a tool of white supremacy and toxic masculinity to distract talented people and get them off their game. So if you are experiencing imposter syndrome, the next bit of advice I would give is to see the veneer of its falsity, that it has nothing to do with your abilities or your track record or your capacity to perform. It's simply a tool to distract you. Finally, the last thing I would say is, we're all here because we're interested in tech and to a broader extent, data and analytics. And I would say, again, to rely on research and statistics. And statistics say that teams that are diverse background, diverse culture, diverse thinking, are more successful. They bring in more revenue and they're more innovative. So anytime you are faced with either it's imposter syndrome within yourself or someone is thrusting imposter syndrome upon you, to remember that you're at this table and on this project, or you started this startup because you bring something important to the table and you are the game changer. So you have to be there because the solution would not be as strong without you.
That was an amazing analysis. I don't think I've ever heard that, like, that kind of take on imposter syndrome before, but it definitely resonates with me and a lot of other people, I'm sure. So thank you so much for that. Angel, do you have anything to say about imposter syndrome, dealing with it?
I would piggyback off what was just definitely experienced imposter syndrome. Obviously, like as a woman of color with disabilities on top of it, I've definitely felt it all my entire life, probably from the time I was in school, because I was dyslexic and I wrote backwards. I didn't feel like I was as smart as everybody else. And so it just kind of carried over throughout my life until a certain point in which I realized that I was kind of framing myself in this kind of negative light that was only further kind of deteriorating my outlook on like my opportunities and everything like that. And another thing I would say as part of that is I realized after getting in the room with some of these people, and Michelle Obama's talked about this too, you get in the room with these people that made you feel like you were inadequate and you realize that they're not that smart. And you're like, damn, I guess I'm not as bad off as I thought. And you realize that, you know, some people get where they are because of, you know, who they know. And that's something we all have to overcome. But I think that once you get in the room with people that you think are just so amazing and you have that reality check about who they actually are and how smart they actually are and how they talk and how they act, it'll kind of bring you down to reality and make you realize that you were being a lot harder on yourself than you needed to be. And I agree 100% about like the male patriarchy and white privilege and male dominance and all of it. Like, there's this ideal of what we're supposed to be, and it maybe doesn't look like us, and maybe it's not the same gender as we are, and so it makes us feel like we're not adequate because we're not seeing those same archetypes that look like ourselves. And so I would say as part of that too, you have to find a mentor. I've had many mentors along the way, but find someone who's doing what you want to be doing, who looks like you and who has made those strides already, and learn from the things they did. And I agree 100% with what was said earlier about, you know, getting yourself in order, especially if you're like a first generation college student. You know, maybe you weren't taught good coping mechanisms. I mean, I grew up with parents that were like incarcerated and stuff. So coping mechanisms, like that wasn't even on the table. So I had to do a lot of like self exploration. I had to go to therapy. I had to really know who I was in order to really get. But I realized it was really me as a whole being, and I needed to really focus on me and who I was and know who I was and know what I brought to the table. And to the point made earlier, as a data scientist, I'm always drawn to the numbers, but then at the same time, I want to balance that with what I'm seeing in front of me, because if the numbers don't match what I see, then I'm like at this huge disconnect, which does happen sometimes. You might see on paper that you're phenomenal, you know, remove yourself from that situation and know what's best for you, and what's best for your overall well-being. And sometimes that's not the same thing as what's best for your paycheck. And so recognize when it's about you as a person more so than your title or your role or your salary or whatever, and just know what you bring to the table and what value you offer, and don't be willing to walk away if you feel like it's not the best fit for you. Syndrome to begin with.
Mm-hmm. That is great advice. Thank you. Yeah, I know that resonated with a lot of people, what you've been saying. So thank you so much. Yeah. Arnika, do you have anything to say about imposter syndrome, dealing with imposter syndrome? What do you think?
Yeah. So I'm actually reading a book now called How Women Rise. And in the book, I read something that really resonated with me, was that when women receive feedback or constructive criticism, they automatically start thinking they're not doing a good job, they're not the right person for the job, and it gets to them. Whereas most men, they say that the person giving them the feedback doesn't know them well and they ignore it. So I think both ways are wrong, but I think what women need to do is go past that first barrier and start thinking about, well, who is the person giving me the feedback? If it's somebody who really cares about you and wants you to grow, just know that they don't want to hurt you. They're just giving you this feedback because they really see an opportunity for growth. Unless, you really think that somebody can change, you're not going to give them feedback. So receiving feedback is always a good thing because they think that you can be successful. Another example of imposter syndrome that I heard is one of the senior leaders in my company. She told me that when she started working, early 2000s, she was in manufacturing. She always wore pants and a collared shirt. She was really scared to wear a dress or a skirt because she wanted to look like everybody else around her. And fast forward a couple years, and she realized that that's the wrong way of dealing with it, because if all of the leaders, like Angel said, if all of the leaders in your company look the same, dress the same, feel the same way about every decision that's being made, you're not in the right place. And honestly, being the odd one out is a good thing, because if somebody's going to make a bad decision, you just need that one no to stop it. And so you want to be that person that thinks different. And looking different automatically sometimes causes you to think different and have a different opinion and a different viewpoint about things. So I think it's definitely a good thing to be different.
Great answer. Thank you. Wow. I feel like I'm learning so much from this, honestly. Thank you guys so much. I think, okay, we can fit in, it looks like one more question. So let's do this. And we'll start again with Tiffany at the top just to even things out. If you could go back and give, whether it's your college self or just you who was early in your career, if you could go back in time and give that person a piece of advice, what would it be? Is there anything you wish you would have known going into your career? And we'll start off with Tiffany.
Yes, well, one is trust yourself. Be confident in who you are. I used to suffer from low self-esteem because I was always trying to fit in. Just coming from a bad background, I just had low self-esteem, and I would do things to please other people, and it would hurt me. So now, do what's best for you. Love yourself. Be confident in you. You don't have to live your life for someone else. When I started going to school, to college, that was the expectation from my dad. Neither one of my parents graduated from college. My dad dropped out in the 5th grade. Education was the most important thing. That's all I heard. And when I went to college, I was so unprepared. I got suspended for a year. And it made me sit and think, why am I even doing this? Am I even smart enough? What do I need to do to be successful the next time? And I went back and I went for myself. So you just have to trust yourself, love yourself, know that you have everything within you to manifest what it is in this world you're supposed to do. And you don't have to rely on other people to do that. It's all within yourself. And I learned that. I'm gonna be transparent. I'm in my 40s. I just learned that 2 years ago. While I am building this organization, is building me from the inside out. As a leader. So, like I said before, so that would be. I would have saved myself so much heartache and pain if I would have known that thing. So
absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Angel's back with us. Hi. So I believe Sabrina is up next. Unless it froze. All right, yeah. Savinder, hi. What would be your advice to someone who's early in their career in college, just like the people in our audience? What would you go back and tell yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Recently, when I was writing one of my course, And this is all about, like, if you started your career or you late in your career, like what these 5 steps, I wish if I would have known 20 years ago, I could have shortened my journey like so much. And that's what I can share with you all. So I would say, like, first one is know yourself. Like, it's really, before even learning about others and like why I'm not getting this, it's really take time to know yourself. And when you know yourself through a lot of like, and it could be in different way, assessments and personal development. And then number 2 is find a mentor. Know yourself, find a mentor. And number 3 is brand yourself. That means, like, just get out there and just be your own advocate and do your own branding yourself. And then 4th is, once you know, like, what you're good at it, know yourself, and you follow mentors' advice and you get clarity, and then you continuous learning and become expert in your area. And then last one is give back. So these all sequence, there is a sequence. It's like a phone number. If we don't follow the sequence, we don't gonna connect to that person. So if know yourself and find a mentor and do the personal branding and then become expert in the area and then give back. And this will actually give you the real fulfillment, these steps. So it takes a lot to do in between, but I would say start with you to really spend more time to knowing yourself, what inspire you, what's drive you, and where. So, and that takes a lot. And that's why I take some mentors' help, where somebody already been there, somebody already done it. They can really shorten your journey from long, because I last 3-4 years, I become completely different person. And before 15 years, I was determined, I was passionate, but I did not have a guidance, and I really I didn't spend time with myself. So I would say know yourself is the first step, and I'll follow other 5 steps.
Great advice. Thank you so much. I believe Chris is up next. Chris, if you need me to repeat the question, I'd be happy to.
I'm good, and I have 3 pieces of advice. And very briefly, when I was in undergrad, I was a student. I had academic scholarships. I also separately was on the varsity soccer team. So I'm ready to go on and take on the world person. And I had a professor sit me down after class, likely after a healthy debate that we had, and he said, "Chris, I'd really like to see you relax into your intelligence." And I think what he was saying is what the other esteemed panelist was bringing up with Mrs. Obama, and that is realizing what you bring to the table is more than what you know. The second piece of advice I would give was actually from my grandfather. It was also related. He said, you don't have to do it all yourself. So, for those of you that are used to, kind of taking on challenges yourself, maybe you're a survivor of trauma, whatever it is, there are people out there that are willing to help carry the load and support you and sponsor you. And then finally, related also to what another panelist brought up is networking. And I just want to call out that when I was y'all's age, I didn't do networking. My idea of networking was calling the alumni network before I graduated and trying to find my first client, which I did. But you all have put together this entire hackathon with all of these different channels and opportunities for folks to get to know one another. So I just want to give a shout that you all are really setting the stage, giving a wonderful example, and already put yourselves on a great trajectory. Well done.
Thank you so much, Chris. We all appreciate that so much, so thank you. Angel, what would be your advice to your past self?
Oh, there's a few pieces. I would definitely agree not to take yourself so seriously, especially when you're young. Like, that's the time you're supposed to be exploring your options and really figure out what you want to do. Don't just get so set in one thing that you can't see beyond that and see where your other skills are. Focused on one thing and think like that's going to be your job. Like, just because your degree's in math doesn't mean you're going to go to work and be a math person. Like, that could be far from the truth. So just don't get so like just tunnel vision and you can't see anything beyond that, and focus instead on what you're actually genuinely good at. And there's been a lot of talk about, you know, knowing who you are, but it's really important, and exploring who you are is just as important. So don't feel like because you've set up yourself for like one specific lane, especially when you're young, don't feel like that's going to be the role you're in for the rest of your life, or feel like you have to do that either. Because I think some people think that because they got this one degree, that's their only option, and that's not the case. And then knowing yourself really kind of translates over to knowing your value and being able to articulate that really, really. If you're actually good, better off you'll be. So really know what your strengths are and be able to like communicate them to other people. So figure out how to do that in a way that, you know, will really benefit you in the long run. And then don't devalue yourself along the same lines. Like, don't think that your experience as a volunteer or as an intern isn't just as valuable as somebody who's paid, because you're still learning. So don't devalue all of those, you know, engagements that you have when you're in school and growing up. And if you're participating in team sports, that's, you know, you're leading groups, you know, don't downplay your leadership ability, especially as a woman, because I feel like too many women set their sights really, really low because they don't think that they can lead. And if you haven't been given the opportunity, sometimes when you're ready. And if that's really young, then do it. And if people think that's crazy, then so what? I think the earlier you learn how to not only lead but delegate, the better off you'll be, no matter what your job title is. So learn how to be a leader no matter what the job title on your resume says, and also just learn how to delegate, because otherwise you're going to be super overwhelmed. And I think sometimes as women, we feel like, I mean, I know my mom told me growing up, you have to do like 120% to get like 60% as far or whatever. And like, that's kind of sometimes how you feel, is that you have to really, really do it all, and you have to do it perfectly. But I think sometimes it's more so about getting it all done and knowing how to balance those two things. So, you know, make sure you know how to like give things over to people and delegate and lead projects and stuff.
That is great advice. Thank you. And finally, I think, would you like to close us out on that question?
Sure, yeah. I know all of you are probably, looking to apply to jobs either now or soon. So one thing that I would say is don't apply for jobs solely based on the criteria that the job rec has. If you're interested in a job, but you don't have all of the 10 requirements that the job rec states, that's okay. Apply anyways. And if you get rejected, that's fine. I mean, all of us have received rejection emails before. It's okay. You're going to make it through. You're going to get that dream job, and you're going to make it in life. And that's a tip for, career fairs as well. What I've noticed is that HRs, they're looking for confident candidates that are applying to jobs that they're interested in, not the other way around where they're, selling themselves to the HR and trying to fit into the job requirement. That's not what they want. And that's for you too. It's okay if a certain job is interesting to you but doesn't pay well. That's okay. You're at a point in your life where you can really try new things out. You don't have to settle for what you get. Just keep exploring, like all of the others said. And to touch on networking too, networking doesn't just mean talking to HRs of different companies or senior executives, even the people around you, people you go to college with, the people you meet outside, that's networking as well, because you're going to learn a lot of valuable things from them. It's not only that somebody who has 20 years of experience has something valuable to offer. So just keep your eyes open, and you'll meet the right people, and I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we are at time, but I think I speak for everyone in the audience and the organizers when I say that this was a fantastic panel. We love getting to hear all of your awesome advice and insights on just being a woman in the industry, in the workplace, and things like that. All the advice that you've shared is definitely going to help people in their future careers. So again, we really, really appreciate you taking the time to be here, taking the time to share your insights with us. We really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you so much for making this panel happen, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for putting it together.
Of course.
Thank you all for having us. For sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.